welcome. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Father, for the day. Thank you for this opportunity to meet with your incredible child, Caroline Ruderman.
Mhm.
She is coming to us today. We are meeting one another. I'm in Texas, and she is in Massachusetts. Um, in the beautiful, beautiful Massachusetts, and she'll tell you a little bit why she has chosen to live there. It's hard for me to describe the wonderful connection that Caroline and I have. I have had the pleasure of sharing in a practice that she so generously and beautifully shares with those that are interested in Reiki. She is a Reiki master, and she'll let you know much more about that. However, I want to make sure you've really, really listened. She dives into love. She dives into the importance of asking sometimes not easy questions. And she does her work so beautifully. And she started her practice from a story that I'm excited that she's going to share with us today. So, welcome, Caroline. Thank you for being here and for what you're going to share today with this incredible audience. Thank you, audience, for being here.
Yes.
Um, so, let's dive in. Caroline, tell us about yourself. Tell us about your story. How did you become a Reiki master?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I never really planned on like doing any of this. It was um it was really something that I kept falling into because of first of all, stress. Like I was just, in my 20s, I was just a ball of anxiety, and just doing my best. It's like sometimes when you're in your 20s, it's just life is a little bit like bumper cars. You're just bumping around, trying to figure things out. And I think that it was really the first time that I started even acknowledging that I had anxiety because I was a very sensitive person, but I always had friends who had bigger problems or bigger anxieties. And, I was just used to going into caregiving mode and taking care of, like other people around me and really just denying a lot of my own, life experiences. And I don't know, 20s, kind of, 20s
Well,
vibe.
but I have to, first of all, I love the bumper car analogy and of the 20s. I have to tell you the truth, I can barely remember except for highlights of my 20s because I'm now 110. However, I do love that you said you were always, or you would quickly get into caregiving mode. And so, just right off the bat, I want for everyone to acknowledge how often and how much, and we'll find out from Caroline, it's easier sometimes to be a caregiver than to take care of ourselves.
Yep.
And that's very interesting that you said that. And the fact that you did that in your 20s, you were born a caregiver, as
Yeah.
so many are, so many of us are. I love that, Caroline. So here you go, your bumper cars. You don't, you're just taking care of other people. And then what happened?
Well, it was a time where I had just an incredibly stressful job, and it was working in interior design in a retail store, and I my stress levels were just like out of control,
Mhm.
and it was getting to the point where between all the like alcohol that I was drinking and all the caffeine that was coming into my system in the morning, all the coffee. And, it was like meditations weren't doing anything. Like my yoga practice wasn't doing anything. I was just this like wreck. My nervous system was a wreck. And I was just kind of walking around like I don't know why I'm like I don't know why I'm experiencing why am I crying like every single day.
Mm.
So I got to the point where one night I was flipping through my phone and I I had met my first Reiki teacher probably about 5 years prior, and I was flipping through my phone to see who I hadn't t like talked to or reached out in a while, and her number just like jumped out at me. And I was like, I wonder what Nana Delaplanque is doing. So she's down in Brooklyn, where I lived for many years. And so I was like, I'm just gonna see what she's offering. Checked out her website. She was having an in-person Reiki 1 workshop that weekend. And something in my heart was just like pitter patter. Like it was just such a physical sensation that like I felt lit up. I felt excited. And it was something that truly I hadn't felt that way in a long time.
Isn't
And
that?
so without even thinking about it, right now I can look back and be like, oh yeah, that was my intuition. But like back then, it was a thought less process. It was just like, I'm just going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was during that first Reiki workshop, I really didn't know anything about it. I'd never tried it. I had just met this woman like for maybe 15 minutes. She was on a panel discussion. I was just like, I like her vibe. And that was it. So I had no background in it, but something inside of me just felt so inspired in that it was just a little glimmer. It wasn't like rockets were going off, but it was just enough to kind of get me out of my like, trauma mode that I was experiencing at the time. And I took the weekend workshop, and I it was after the session where I got to receive during that weekend. I remember sitting up after the table, and actually I felt a little nauseous, right? I like kind of felt a little bit like, ooh, a little woozy. But then it was the first time that I almost used the analogy of like when you have a lit match and you extinguish the head and it's still kind of smoking. Like that's what
Yes.
it felt like. I was
Oh,
just
wow.
like, oh wow, like somebody actually just extinguished my fire. That is my head and my thoughts and all of these emotions. And it was the first time in years that I felt like I was back to myself again.
Wow. So
Yeah.
many questions, but let's back up just a little bit. What would be a high level definition of Reiki?
Yeah.
Let's start with that.
Yeah. So there's sort of the classic definition of Reiki, which is like, oh, it's an earth-based energy. It's a spiritually guided type of energy. How I like to describe it, having taught Reiki for 15 years, is I like to think of Reiki as somewhere halfway between meditation and massage therapy.
Wonderful.
So I work fully virtually, so I can work anywhere in the world with people. But like when I work in person, it can be done like with light touch, right? Many people work through light touch. It doesn't quite get into the same muscles the way that a massage therapist is really doing like muscular skeletal work, but it almost feels like you're receiving a meditation. Your mind calms down, your nervous system calms down, start moving some emotions. It's really beautiful for kind of the like headaches, for the aches and pains. And my specialty is really helping a lot of the emotional heaviness that kind of settles into our organs and that like kind of makes us feel really droopy and takes the light out of our eyes. Like my specialty is helping the emotional energy shift out of our systems. Um,
Thank you. Thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure if there's, in case there was anyone in the audience that had not heard about Reiki before. And so now, audience, I'm going to take you back a little bit to what Caroline shared about her first experience when she just jumped in there, spent the weekend, went through this phase one with her first mentor, Reiki mentor. And I love that when you were finished, you're describing literally you had a release. So, first of all, I can see the match. I can see the smoke coming off the match that has just been put out. And you did feel a little nauseous. You had released so much. And I want to remind everyone this is in one session.
And it was probably like, I don't know how long, it probably felt like 5 minutes, but it was maybe 20 minutes.
Wow.
It was just a quick demonstration for some of the hand positions for the whole class. So
Wow.
it wasn't even like a dedicated full session. It was just like a little drop, right?
It's a little drop.
Yeah.
And you had been experiencing this stress or not feeling yourself for quite some time.
Yeah.
And you felt a release and you felt more yourself after that short session.
Yeah.
Wow. So from there, and it sounds like this was 15 to 20 years ago because you've been practicing and teaching for 15 years, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so you've had this experience and you're thinking, okay, this is unbelievable, I guess. And then you signed up for the next session or set for the next instructional session. How'd you carry on from there?
I got home from that first weekend. You know, it's like my path is always a little like left turn, right
Yeah.
turn, left turn, and right turn. But I don't think there was a plan to sign up for the second session, for the second Reiki 2 workshop. I got home that weekend and I was feeling so good, went back to work, and the same patterns at my job started continuing.
Hmm.
And I've never just quit a job before, but it literally just came out of my mouth. I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I think my boss at the time was trying to get me to quit, which is fine. Like, you know, bless her. But I was, I think that as soon as I said that, she was like, okay, she's kind of sent me home with a week's pay. And I had been telling her that morning about my Reiki experience. And she literally slapped me so hard on the back and said that maybe the next time I see you, you'll be doing this Reiki thing. Like literally at the back of my heart center. She literally just was like, maybe next time I see you, you'll be doing this whole Reiki thing.
Wow.
And sent me
Wow.
home with a week's pay. And I went home in shock. And I was like, what just happened? Like, I feel great, but I no longer have a job.
What? Uh-oh. Yeah.
Yeah. So I called my Reiki teacher and I just said, hey, this funny thing happened. And she said, well, now that you have all this free time on your hands, why don't you start offering like $20 Reiki sessions? And I almost immediately began my professional career from that.
Wow.
Yeah. I was just like, I want to feel this good all the time. I want to support other people feeling good like this. It took a while to build my business and truly my confidence, but it was like, it was like prophetic in that moment, like that slap on the back.
I can't
It was
believe
like,
it.
so the divine will is done.
You know, it's incredible. You know, it takes what it takes. And clearly, I know the audience knows I talk about this a lot. We are all given God-given gifts.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because oftentimes we can see other people's gifts before we realize ours. And I think there's that, of course,
Yeah.
that transition or moment when you realize it's okay to take a compliment because you realize it's by the grace of God you have the gift. It's not yours at all. It was a gift. And
Sure.
so you finally can accept it and then grow it.
Yeah.
Um, and clearly, this working with people, calming their nervous systems, allowing them to go deeply in a short amount of time to places that they don't stop and take time for.
Yeah.
It's a gift. I mean, because your business took off immediately and you've
Well, that took some time. Let's be
took some
real.
time to pay the bills.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I do Reiki, but people would be like, can you watch my rabbit? And I'm like, I'm a Reiki pet sitter. Like, It was like anything. It was just hustle mode. It was like anything that I could
I
do.
love that.
Yeah.
Reiki hat a pet sitter. So let me ask you a question because I'm sure the audience wants to know. How long was that period of time from the slap on the back
Yeah.
to being able to step into this in a manner that you were paying the bills and you didn't have to be a Reiki pet sitter?
Yeah. I mean, it took a while, you know. I mean, I think that like I think that every day I would just get up and like try again, right?
Yes.
And that's sort of it's just one foot in front of the other. It's one foot in
Yeah.
front of the other. And like I had a little support at different times in my life. I had side gigs that were actually paying more money, but like it was the Reiki was always forward facing, and that was always where my priorities were. So it was, it did take a while, you know, but I mean, I think it was probably somewhere. I mean, my Reiki teacher told me very early on, she was like, you know, it takes 3 years to build a business.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Uh, Most any business. I mean, there's some things that are instantaneous, but
Yeah.
you know, far and few between.
Yeah.
That is so. Oh, again, hopefully the audience hears this. You just kept putting one foot in front of the other, and you knew this was it, and you each day decided you made a decision to continue to persevere in your growth of this incredible business.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's hard, you know, there was plenty of times where I was just like, I'm going to give up this thing that I love the most. It was very, you know, like when I was kind of going through it, but you know, it's like I, it was just something inside of me that I was like, this is the thing that I love.
Mm,
And then when I eventually started teaching Reiki, I was like, oh, this is a love inside the love.
yeah.
You know, and then it was like, it's just like you follow one thing that lights you up, and then other things blossom along the way. And then it's like, it, this is part of the reason that I pair my Reiki teaching with teaching people who are very highly sensitive people to also follow and trust their intuition as well. Like, what is their
Mhm.
intuition?
Mhm.
How do they receive, you know, guidance, right? Whether it's from God, the universe, source, spirit guides, from their loved ones who have crossed over, you know, the million of directions, our animal communication friends, our animal companions. Like there's so many ways that we can receive guidance when we don't have to know. Like we don't have to know. Like it's better that in fact that we don't know because the story is a little more fun that way. But the truth is that sometimes we go into panic mode and we're like, oh my gosh, I need to pay my bills. But when you look backwards, you'd be like, oh, that was a fun little twist and turn.
Yeah.
That was a fun little shortcut. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I dated that person. Wow, but that really got me to this person over here, you know? So it's like it's easier to look back and kind of like with a little romance to the journey.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I think the when we're looking forward and we're trying to build something or trying to express our heart in some way, and the thing that really lights us up, we have support all around us, and we don't have to do it alone. And I will tell you from my personal experience, I did it the hard way constantly. And I did it the way where I felt like I had to do it alone, where I was fully reliant on myself and trying to build skills and you know putting so much pressure on myself to perform a certain way. Like that's the hard way. That's really the hard way. It's the patriarchal way. It's the capitalist way. It's the way that really tells us that like you know, like it's all about the numbers, it's all about the outcome, it's all about and truly it's about like the process. It's about leaning back into it. It's more of a feminine style way of creating a relationship with the divine, with our heart, and like leaning back into the flow of the river.
Mm,
And that is so hard to do because trust has to be in place.
Mhm. Mhm.
We have to have some level of like faith,
Mhm.
right? Whether you consider that like faith in God or not, right? It's like there's a faith that like something is carrying you.
Mhm.
Right.
I like to think about in the 12 step, most of the 12 step programs, it is in God and or how we see God or how we see a higher power.
Yeah.
In my faith, the intuition is the Holy Spirit. It is definitely the gifts from God. And that it, to your point, that is not everyone's faith.
Of course.
And so it's so, again, I'm so grateful to be in a place that we can talk about different faiths and share
Mhm.
and become curious because we learn more about our own and or grow. However, something that you have said that I feel like a lot of the audience hears was that there was this place, we speak about it a lot in our community, of surrender for you. You know, you saying that you did this the hard way
Mhm.
on your own, crunching, numbers, and this is rather than surrendering and saying, and again, in my faith, please God, tell me where to turn for help. Help me because we're not alone. And I hope everyone listens to Caroline sharing this with us 15 years down the road,
Yeah.
15 plus years down the road, asking for help. And I'm going to share this as part of an important piece of being a recipient in having a session with you, Caroline.
Mhm.
It is we are coming for help. So if we will surrender how we think that's going to look,
Yeah.
and then saying, okay, I'm surrendering and thank you for helping me.
Mhm.
I want to share with the audience that Caroline and I had met and we said, let's have a session before your episode. And I'm going to just share, I had been having these odd headaches.
Mhm.
I've always had a lot going on. I like having a lot going on.
Mhm.
I, you know, I'm sure it's stressful, but I don't name it that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I was
Yeah, it's
having,
like you like a little tightrope act. It's exciting, you know?
yeah, yeah. And I said, Caroline, I don't know what's going on, but I even went to the doctor. I thought this is a blood pressure thing. I, you know, audience probably knows this. Well, I don't just go to the doctor. I kind of have to be pushed a little bit.
Yeah.
However, I decided it would be a smart thing to do.
Sure.
And I go and, thank you, Father. They said blood pressure, spine, and all that kind of stuff. Those headaches are weird. Caroline and I had a session, 75 minutes. And again, she's in Massachusetts. And she said, just get comfortable. I decided to um, go horizontal.
Yeah.
Took off my
Yeah.
glasses, put her right here next to me on the telephone where I could hear her and she could hear me. And she just walked me through questions. And when her questions took us back into actually the year 2025, so just last year, which, you know, in my mind, for everyone I know, and I feel like everyone on the planet, I feel like 2025 was a hell of a year.
Mhm.
A lot went on. And I'm going to say from, I don't know, the 2 years of the pandemic, I'm going to give it 2 years, no more than that, which that was a big deal. I feel like 2025 was as much for everybody as far as the lowest of the low to the highest of the highs and in every single solitary way.
Mhm.
Anyway, to wrap all that up, so audience, I have had glimmers just a couple of times, and since that time,
Mhm.
I have not had those weird headaches.
Woohoo.
I know. Woohoo. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Caroline. I have had almost like I could tell it was about, I felt a little bit. I decided I would sit down, do the beautiful breathing exercises that we
Mhm.
had done in our session. And I have to tell y'all, I have felt great. And
Mm.
and before you ask the questions, no Tylenol, no Advil. Just so if I didn't, there's been no medication to stop a headache or anything like that. I really do believe her beautiful practice just calmed my nervous system. Would that be? And it kind of released things, I'm going to say from 2025 that I was hanging on to.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to describe it, Caroline?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Is it okay if I share a
Oh,
little bit from the session?
please,
Okay.
please.
I usually when I'm with clients, typically I'm very good about maintaining, professional
Oh,
boundaries.
yes.
I don't so when people come, I don't share with other people. Um,
Yes. Okay. So everybody knows that 100%. Yes, please share.
okay. So there was one point during the session where you were laying down and you were like, I feel like I have this like helmet of energy around my head, and then I'm feeling that there's like a pulse, like an energetic pulse going through it. And it's sometimes sometimes when we're experiencing something in our body that like presents as an ache or a pain, um, the root of all physical ailments is that there's always an emotional and spiritual cause. Always, always. There's many ways to like remedy that, and sometimes modern medicine will get you pretty darn far, and sometimes things like chronic disease will only get you so far over here, and you have to go over there for something, right? But in that space, when you were energetically connecting to like, oh, I have this patch of tension that I'm like visualizing or sensing in my body that's wrapping around my head, and I'm feeling this pulse, we were able to expand your consciousness as we're aware of that energy, and we're softening it, and we're allowing it to disperse, right? Which is like where all that tension was wrapping around your head, around the headache. Okay. Because like
Hmm.
all your scans are coming back normal from the doctors. So we're looking at it energetically.
Hmm.
And so as we start expanding your consciousness and we start like moving that energy, and it kind of begins, it's like the river of energy is no longer being restricted by like the branch. It's like we move the branch, we move the energy that's sort of congested, and then the flow can begin again.
Hmm. Well, I'll tell you something. I told you that day, I could tell. And I'm bringing this up because when Caroline started sharing with us today, she was talking about her first experience, a 20-minute maybe experience, and she felt this release and this relief. And I just wanted to share it. Mine was longer. However, I believe it was a week ago, maybe a week ago today, actually.
Mhm.
And I am still just, it's so interesting. I told my husband, everyone's MVP. I told him the other day, I said, I think that this has really released or expanded
Mhm.
this heaviness.
Yeah.
And I'm just so appreciative. Um, so everybody, I'm suggesting from personal experience, get on her calendar, have a conversation. Anyway, so there's that. But Caroline, I have a question. What are some of the many different reasons when people call to set up an appointment with you?
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about what's going on? So, because I know there are a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
So I don't want everybody to think, oh gosh, I'm having headaches. I'm going to call Caroline. Certainly do. However, there are many other reasons to call.
Yeah. Well, I am a bit of a headache specialist. So, sometimes, and I do have like a little bit of like medical intuition as well. So, if sometimes it's not always Reiki that you need to do to like remedy the thing,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, but what are some reasons that people come in and see me? There's a huge variety of reasons. There's grief, right?
Mhm.
Like if you are like, I have had clients who have been coming to me because they lost their best friend, and that has just turned them inside out.
Mm,
And so we do grief work, allow
mhm,
like learning how to open up the container because
mm,
grief is kind of intimidating in many ways. It's
mm,
such strong emotion. Sometimes we don't have the support around us to feel like we can slow down and stop and feel it
mm,
because we get very overwhelmed. So a lot of the work that I do in that kind of space is helping somebody actually like settle back into their body.
mm.
And also, because I do intuitive Reiki sessions, I often teach people how to directly connect to their loved one, how to connect with spirit. So for people who are like, what does that mean? It's like a little bit of mediumship. It's a little bit of like, no, if you're not into talking to dead loved ones, that's fine. But that is 100% my world. Like I work in the world of consciousness, and everything around us is connected. Trees talk, rivers talk, our dogs talk. We just have to learn how to understand and receive the information in a way that we can feel and hear and see and recognize that it's not always verbal. And people
Mm,
who have, like kids who are nonverbal, right? They understand that there's a lot of you can see frustration on people, right?
mhm,
You can see when somebody is getting like wrapped into themselves, right? So kind of holding space for grief and loss, not just
mm,
holding space, but like actually allowing the release for it in a
mm.
safe place,
I would think.
as well as kind of skill building and learning. I work with people who are really also trying to go into their own little quantum leaps. How do I make my art and my music and my energy healing practice? Like, how do I get it out there?
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Because I tend to work with people who are highly sensitive, it's like, okay, well, you're following your intuit, you're hearing, your intuition is strong. You might be driving in that car and you might be like, oh, my best friend is sitting here with me, jamming out, and the songs are coming on the radio. I'm getting angel numbers, I'm getting the feathers that are like popping up and all these the cardinals and the signs, right? They're like hearing and sensing their intuition that they're on track. But it's
Mm,
like, how do we follow our guidance? How do we actually like listen to our spirit guides, right? Our angels, God, universe, source, whatever. How do we get to where we're going?
may I ask you a question? I've lost one of our brothers, wonderful brothers, to, well, the source was Parkinson's. That was the disease.
Oh, sorry.
And we have, well, so many people, and many in the audience have so many people that have something blank disease. If the
Right.
word disease is after, it's horrific. I mean, you know. Do you work with people that have these illnesses that are just looking for a relief? Because so many of these horrific diseases, the side effects, whether it's from the disease and or from medication or whatever, do you work with those groups very often?
Absolutely. Absolutely. For many years, I used to work in oncology doing clinical Reiki at a local hospital. And my objective wasn't, they were already getting their primary care with chemo.
Yes. Yes.
My objective was to support them at stages of like, I'm scared for my life. My family is really scared for me. I'm dealing with the fact that like I can't do the same things that I used to do.
Mhm.
These new limitations on my body, like I'm scared that this thing is going to come back. I feel like I don't have a sense of control over myself anymore. Like I'm resentful of my body, right? So in those cases, there's a lot that can be supported
Mhm.
that, and sometimes it does actually help with like with tremors. I remember there was one woman who, um, because the oncology department that I worked in was also an infusion suite. Sometimes people would come in and, basically like be there for MS and be getting like longer, infusions.
Yes.
And there was one woman that I used to work on, whenever she would get Reiki sessions, that was the only time her hands would stop shaking.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And it would resume again when she was kind of done. But like there was something happening in that space. And, she always felt so relaxed afterwards. Like she felt so much more uplifted. Like the resilience of like what you have to go through. Like sometimes when you let go of the stress and some of the overwhelm and some of the heavier patterns that we're holding on to, life is a little easier to face. Like
Wow.
when you talk about the level of surrender, like the baby step to surrender is like acceptance.
Yes.
And it's not a baby step. It's like
Yeah.
the serious,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like
Again, back,
initiation.
back to the 12-step programs,
Yeah.
it's acceptance, well, awareness, acceptance,
Yeah.
and then the surrender. There's definitely every step is so important.
Every step.
Oh, and I have so many more questions, and I know the audience has more questions, but I want to be mindful of your time, their time, and I just want to say thank you.
Of course.
This is, you are a lovely person in and
Oh,
out,
thank you.
and I know the audience can hear it, see it, feel it. You're a gentle, gentle soul.
Oh, thank you.
And it's really such a gift that you share. And I think about what you just said, that someone with tremors had a break from those just for a little while. Even though they return, there would be this break. And I can't suggest to you all enough, go, and you'll have all the links, of course, as always, but set up a session, just a conversation if you want to learn more about Reiki, if you want to learn more about Caroline, if you want to experience a session. And Caroline, you're appreciated.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank
Oh,
you. And
any
I do have,
final words to the
yeah.
audience?
Oh, well, I do have a little like free 15-minute if you would do it's not like necessarily like a Reiki session, but like if you do have questions, so like there's no pressure if you're just like, who is this person and like what is this all about?
Yes.
So just so folks know that. Um, but I just separate from Reiki, just like follow the things that light you up. Follow the things that light you up because, like, what you are doing to balance yourself, to find your joy, that's what heals the planet. Like,
Mm,
that's deeply what heals relationships. That's what heals, like, ancestral chains. Like, just keep following the things that light you up, like truly, truly, truly like dig into yourself. And I'm like, just continue to explore. And, obviously some people are like, I like beer. It's like, okay, sometimes we like things that like, the old thumb sucking, right? That brings us comfort. But it's like really like follow the things that light you up. If you have just like a few extra $100 every once in a while, like take that painting class, take that
mhm.
pottery class, like go swing dancing, like just do the things that are really, even if it doesn't have to be your job, like just keep following the things that light you up because those are the places where like actual deep transformation begins.
Mm, that's beautiful. It's I can hear one of my other wonderful brothers saying, "Oh goodness, we're going to have more people in fine arts."
Yeah.
Our family leans in that direction. He's like, "Oh God, more people in
Yeah.
fine arts," which is wonderful. However, a little longer
Yeah.
than the 3-year build, um, 3-year business build. Okay, audience, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Caroline. Audience, I can't wait till our next guest conversation and get in touch with Caroline, do the things that you love, and you know what? Hook 'em.